Imagine this, you're on a small wooden raft. All around you is nothing but the endless blue ocean. No food, no water, and above you, the scorching sun beating down. Every day you wake up with hope, but all you see are waves. Sometimes sharks circle nearby, and sometimes storms threaten to flip your raft over. And this isn't for just a day or two, but for 133 days. This isn't a movie. This is a true story of a man named Poon Lim, who defeated the ocean itself. How did he survive? Did he eat raw fish? Did he ever lose hope of being rescued? In this video, you'll discover the ultimate battle of a man against hunger, thirst, fear, and most of all, against nature itself. Poon Lim, an ordinary man, born in China. He grew up in poverty, but he was different in one way. He had a burning desire to survive and to learn. He wasn't highly educated, so he kept searching for work. When World War II broke out, every corner of the world was gripped by fear. Japan had invaded China, and German submarines were roaming the seas like deadly predators. In the middle of all this, Poon Lim got an opportunity to work on a British cargo ship called the SS Ben Lomond. He wasn't a soldier, just a helper. But for him, that job was everything. The SS Ben Lomond was a large vessel carrying weapons, rations, and supplies for soldiers from South America to Africa. Poon Lim had no idea that this journey would turn into a war, not against soldiers or bullets, but against hunger, thirst, loneliness, and death itself. And he definitely didn't know that one day he'd go down in history as the man who defeated the sea while sitting on a piece of floating wood. November 21st, 1942. The SS Ben Lomond was on its voyage. Calm sea, clear path, and the crew had no reason to worry. But what they didn't know was that death was swimming beneath them. A German U-boat, ready to fire a torpedo. And then, a deafening explosion. A torpedo tore through the middle of the ship. Panic broke out everywhere. People screamed. Some fell into the ocean. Some didn't even get a chance to react. Poon Lim was in the lower section of the ship at that moment. After the explosion, he somehow managed to reach the deck. All he could see was smoke, fire, and the ship sinking rapidly. He spotted a wooden life raft floating nearby and grabbed onto it. Poon Lim looked back. The entire ship had vanished into the ocean, and the cries of his crewmates slowly faded into the waves. Now it was just him and the endless sea. No ship, no people, just a piece of wood floating in the ocean. And ahead of him lay 133 days of the most terrifying battle of his life. He didn't know it yet, but this tiny raft had just pushed him into the longest recorded solo survival at sea in human history. Now, Poon Lim had no direction, no support, just blue ocean all around, the blazing sun above, and the dark, bottomless water below. For the first few days, he had a small emergency kit. It contained a few dried biscuits, a bit of condensed milk, a torch, and a fishing hook. He immediately understood if he wanted to survive, he had to treat these items as more precious than gold. Burning under the sun all day, shivering in the cold at night, and with every wave, the fear that the raft might flip over. Thirst burned his throat like needles. He looked up at the sky, praying for rain, because rainwater was his only hope of survival. His body was getting weaker, and his mind slowly collapsing under fear. But even in that fear, one thing remained. I'm still alive, and as long as I breathe, I will not give up. Now the biscuits were finished. Many nights had passed without a single bite of food, but Poon Lim didn't give up. He started using whatever he had to invent new ways to survive. He tore pieces from his clothes to make a rope, turned a hook from the emergency kit into a fishing tool, and cast the line into the sea, hoping a fish would bite, just enough to kill the hunger for one more day. After waiting for hours, suddenly the line pulled. A fish was caught. Joy, yes. But now came the hardest decision: how to eat it. He had no fire, no salt, so he tore the fish apart with his bare hands, drank its blood, and chewed the raw flesh. Because now, hunger had become a war for survival. Slowly, he learned to identify the fish, which were poisonous and which were not. He had created his own little ocean survival school, where every fish, every drop, every moment was teaching him a new lesson in life. Poon Lim was no longer just a man. He had become a survival machine. Hunger, thirst, fear were no longer enemies. They had become his routine. One day, the sea was completely calm. Poon Lim was sitting on the edge of his raft trying to catch a fish. Suddenly, he felt something heavy, something big. He froze with fear. And as he looked down, a shark, black, terrifying eyes, swimming straight toward the raft. If it rammed the raft even once, it could shatter it to pieces. But instead of panicking, he used his mind. He threw a fish into the water to distract the shark, then quickly hid himself in the center of the raft, where his scent wouldn't spread and the shark might get confused. The shark circled the raft multiple times, but finally it swam away. Poon Lim knew. That day, he hadn't just thrown a fish, He had pushed death away. By now, 100 days had passed, and Poon Lim's condition was getting worse with each day. His face was completely burnt from the sun, his lips were cracked, his eyes had sunken in, and his body, it was nothing more than a skeleton wrapped in skin. Now, he didn't wake up with the sun, he woke up with pain. Sometimes, for 2 whole days, he wouldn't catch a single fish. So he started eating seaweed, the kind that looked like leaves. One time he even caught a seabird and ate it raw. Exhaustion, loneliness, and fear. These 3 things were always floating beside him. And yet, every morning when he opened his eyes, he would look out at the horizon. Maybe a ship would appear. Maybe someone would rescue him. Poon Lim had no physical strength left, but his hope was still alive. One morning, when Poon Lim opened his eyes, the sky was clear, and the sea was as silent as it had been for the past 132 days. He was so weak now, he couldn't even speak properly. But suddenly, in the far distance, he saw movement on the sea. A boat. Poon Lim gathered every ounce of energy he had left and started waving his tiny flag. A flag he had made out of his own clothes. He was afraid. What if this boat didn't see him either, just like the other ships that had passed him by before? But this time, luck was on his side. Brazilian fishermen saw him, and when they got closer, their eyes were wide with shock. A man, on a raft, alone, and alive. After 133 days, Poon Lim was given life again. 133 days alone in the ocean. No family, no food, no water, just a wooden raft, some fish, and one man's unbreakable will. Poon Lim's story teaches us one thing. When a human decides to survive, he can fight nature, he can fight loneliness, and he can even fight himself. He didn't give up. He lived through each day, battled every wave, and with his sheer will to live, he made history. So the next time life feels impossible, remember the man who floated alone for 133 days. No one saved him, he saved himself. If you found this story inspiring, make sure to like the video, comment, and tell us if you had heard this story before, and share it with your friends so they too can find the courage to fight through life.